America's top infectious disease official during the COVID crisis, Dr. Anthony Fauci, had to testify this week before the US House of Representatives Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. It was his first appearance before Congress since he retired in 2022.
During the hearing, House Democrats praised Dr. Fauci for saving countless lives during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I lost both of my parents during the pandemic, so I take this very personally. It's important to note that, in my opinion, is that you are an American hero and your team has done more to save lives than all 435 members of this body on both sides of the aisle.
That's US CBN News reporting there, but while some see Fauci as a hero, many see him as a man who led an inexcusable overreaction to COVID based on too little evidence.
Business closures?
Early on, when 5,000 people were dying a day, yes.
Church closures?
Same thing.
School closures?
Again, the
Stay-at-home orders?
These were important when we were trying to stop the tsunami of deaths that were occurring early on. How long you kept them going is debatable.
Tell that to Dan Andrews and a lot of the other Australian officials during COVID. He would have kept them going forever if he could have. Fauci was asked whether he thought the virus originated in the Wuhan lab, where his organization, the US National Institute of Health, had been partly funding virus research, or whether it originated in nature via animal transmission. The World Health Organization, by the way, says both of those theories remain a possibility. But Fauci had previously ruled out the lab leak theory. Here's what he was asked this week by New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis of the Republican Party.
I just want to clarify for the record, because today you testified that you did not suppress the lab leak theory, yet in the past you have said, quote, it is a distortion of reality, unquote. You've said, quote, I've heard these conspiracy theories, and like all conspiracy theories, they're just conspiracy theories. That's what you told the American people. And so would you like to clarify what science were you following then versus now?
No, I've also been very, very clear and said multiple times that I don't think the concept of there being a lab leak is inherently a conspiracy theory. What is conspiracy is the kind of distortions of that particular subject, like it was a lab leak and I was parachuted into the CIA like Jason Bourne and told the CIA that they should really not be talking about a lab leak.
Thank you.
That's the conspiracy.
Appreciate that.
So what he's saying there is that when he said that it was a conspiracy theory, the lab leak theory, the people who were pushing it or saying that it could have been a possibility were conspiracy theorists, that he wasn't really talking about that. He was talking about people who were making up more elaborate conspiracy theory, wacky type stories about him being connected to the CIA and stuff. That's actually just plain false. That's just not the truth. The truth is that he did call people conspiracy theorists if they even suggested that the virus could have come out of a lab. Fauci told the subcommittee hearing while being questioned by another congressman, Jim Jordan, that claims that he deliberately downplayed the possibility of a lab leak because of the fact that his institute was funding the Wuhan lab's research were completely false.
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
I'm sorry, what was?
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
Yes, of course. It was a sub-award to the Wuhan Institute.
And who approved that award?
Excuse me?
And who approved that award? What agency approved that award?
National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Your agency approved that, right?
Yes, it did after.
Does that have anything to do with this downplaying of the lab leak theory?
No.
Nothing to do with it?
Nothing.
What do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
But look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
Early emails on likely origins of COVID between scientists from the NIH, which is Fauci's organization, expressed concerns that gain-of-function research at Wuhan may have been the cause. Days later, though, the very same scientists changed their minds and said that zoological cause was the most likely, animal transfer. Gain-of-function research genetically alters an organism like a virus to enhance its biological functions. It might make a virus more deadly, it might make a virus more transmissible, or able to infect more species or hosts. They do it to better predict emerging infectious diseases and to develop vaccinations and medicines. It does have a purpose. But Dr. Fauci told the hearing that the viruses used in the research being funded in China were too distant to have been able to evolve into the COVID virus, SARS-CoV-2. He says it most likely was animal transmission. But he admits we have to keep an open mind because there's no definitive evidence either way. Senator Rand Paul, who has previously had sparring matches in Senate hearings with Dr. Fauci, told Fox News' Sean Hannity that he's not buying Fauci's claim that he didn't deliberately downplay the lab leak theory.
In the earliest months in January, aren't there emails that you've written about, talked about, that show just the opposite, that they were in a panic, that number one, they may have funded it, number two, they knew gain of function research took place and coronavirus research took place, and that they may have funded it?
Yeah, one of the very frightened emails he gets from an assistant in January of 2020 is an assistant saying, "Oh my goodness, this is gain of function research we funded." This is from his assistant. And they were worried about guilt. They were worried about culpability. They're worried that anybody's hands that touched the money, anybody who approved the money going to Wuhan, would ultimately get blamed. So Fauci actually organized a paper called Proximal Origins. He had 5 virologists write the paper. Most of them were well rewarded with large grants. Christian Anderson got a $9 million grant about a month after this. Meanwhile, all of these people were privately saying, "Oh my goodness, it looks like it was manipulated." But publicly, they were saying it's a conspiracy theory. They went to Facebook, they suppressed it. They told Facebook, suppress the story of anything coming from the lab. It's all conspiracy theory.
Senator Paul told Sean Hannity that Dr. Fauci had never had the research at Wuhan approved by the Safety Committee. But he sent an email in January 2020 to the Safety Committee head to show his research that the virus most likely came from animals.
At 3 in the morning, Anthony Fauci sends an email to the head of the Safety Committee. The head of the Safety Committee should have seen this research, but never did. And he sends him an email saying, "Hey, nothing to see here. Here's a paper that says in all likelihood this came from animals, not from the lab." Why is he sending that to the head of the Safety Committee? Because the Safety Committee was never allowed to review this. For 3 years, I've been asking the NIH for the deliberations. If this is not gain of function, I want to see the discussion between the scientists. Fauci says all the scientists up and down, they all said it wasn't gain of function. Let me see the deliberations. I want to see the arguments for and against. They won't reveal this. They are tighter-lipped than the CIA on this, and the NIA has resisted really requests from Democrats and Republicans. The Democrat chair of my committee has co-signed this request. It's over a year old, and my individual requests are 3 years old. They have resisted, they have obscured, and according to Fauci's assistant that he threw under the bus today, David Morenz, according to him, it was a targeted cover-up and that they destroyed emails and evidence.
It's incredible. I mean, just pause on that for a moment, right? Because think about it. It is bureaucrats telling the elected officials, we're not going to do what you ask. We're not going to give you the documents you want to see. Even though you've got a Democrat and a Republican on a committee signing a thing saying, we want to see these documents. The bureaucrats, right? You don't have to go very deep to see the deep state, right? It's just the top level of bureaucrats saying, sorry, no. Sorry, politicians. Sorry, minister. You can't see this. And just blocking and doing all sorts of nasty things to prevent things. This is why big government gets very, very dangerous very, very quickly. There seems to be a lot of unanswered questions and attempts to keep them unanswered going on here. But Fauci has strongly rebuked any claims of a cover-up.
The accusation being circulated that I influenced these scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false and simply preposterous.
Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying in Washington, D.C. this week. Let's make sure those awful conspiracy theories about social media suppressing conservative and centre-right content is ended forever. Just hit the subscribe button down here and the subscribe button there if you like, if you prefer that one, and the little bell. The little bell's very important because that'll notify you when our content comes out. You can watch full episodes of The Other Side right here. Have a look at pressing that button too. I mean, there are so many buttons to subscribe. Just subscribe. We're keeping you up to date. The Other Side, all the news summary of the week without the woke.